I wanted to yield to the President of the General Assembly for his opening remarks, for giving us some maybe wisdom in how to proceed in these relations in the General Assembly and the Security Council. Mr. President, thank you very much, and I yield to you.
Thank you, and good morning to everyone. Your Excellency, Ambassador Marcos Suazo, Head of UNITAR New York Office, Your Excellency Pedro, Comissário Afonso, Permanent Representative of Mozambique and President of the Security Council, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate the kind invitation by the United Nations Institute for Training and Research to address you at today's workshop organized jointly by the permanent missions of Ecuador and Portugal. I am delighted that in collaboration with the member states, UNITAR is building on last year's successful inaugural session, making yet another substantive contribution to both the process of revitalization of the General Assembly and the highly topical issue regarding the Assembly's relationship with the Security Council, a matter which is also of high priority for my presidency. There is absolutely no question that the Charter of the United Nations entrusts the Security Council with the primary responsibility for maintenance of international peace and security. It is also notable that the Charter clearly vests in the General Assembly a significant role, albeit residual, a role that is gaining increasing attention and the source of spirited debate, as evidenced by the repeated encouragement I continue to receive from a large number of member states to fully explore. Recent events, including the Russian aggression against Ukraine, in clear violation of the Charter, and the grave escalation of violence in the Middle East, have both dramatically highlighted the ongoing paralysis of the Security Council, with damaging consequences. The prevailing situation hampers the Council's ability to effectively discharge its key role on matters of international peace and security, highlighting the imperative of achieving, with a certain urgency, a full understanding of the Assembly's powers in such matters in relation to that of the Council. When the Council is unable to act, it is both desirable and necessary under the prevailing rules that the General Assembly steps forward, lest we risk further questions on the relevance and the deepening casting of aspersions on the efficacy of our organization itself. And the Assembly must do so not in a siloed fashion, but in coordination with the Council as a cohesive unit of United Nations, collectively responsible for the consequences of both the actions and inactions of the United Nations as an organization. Last week, the General Assembly yet again resumed its 10th emergency special session for the third time in response to the surge of violence in the Middle East since the events of October 7, 2023, and the ensuing humanitarian crisis in the Gaza Strip. In the same vein, the Assembly has to date convened the 11th emergency special session following the Russian aggression against Ukraine, signaling the Assembly's strong commitment to upholding international law and the principles of the UN Charter. The three resolutions in the case of the Middle East and Gaza, taken together with the 6 resolutions adopted in relation to the war in Ukraine, are clear messages of the international community's collective demand for compliance with international law and for the immediate cessation of hostilities. Their adoption, with the support of an overwhelming majority of UN member states, embody not only the strong will of member states, but also constitutes a clear testament of the General Assembly's capacity to unify voices against breaches of international norms, including on matters of peace and security. Excellencies, in tandem with these efforts, a significant advancement has been achieved in the implementation of the so-called veto initiatives as mandated in General Assembly Resolution 76/262. It is regrettable that a spate of blockages to critical resolutions on matters endangering our collective peace and security continues, with the Council's polarization, impasse, and the inability to prevent the use of force. In short succession, an alarming 5 vetoes have been cast in the past 4 months alone. Nonetheless, the veto initiative stands as a critical mechanism, allowing all member states represented in the General Assembly to express their stance on matters of peace and security. The initiative is a positive development and an important step in our journey towards greater accountability and transparency on the part of the Security Council in discharging its duties on behalf of the entire UN membership. Though not changing the outcome of the Council's deliberations and vote on the matter, the veto initiative is a significant move towards enhanced democracy in our multilateral system, fostering greater solidarity, especially among smaller states, and giving meaning to the principle sovereign equality of states, including on matters of peace and security. Nevertheless, there exists a strongly held view that we must continue to explore additional ways to enhance the veto initiative's effectiveness. For instance, during the recent General Assembly debate on the veto initiative, several member states suggested that the General Assembly should consider adopting recommendations to fill gaps left by the Security Council's use of the veto, as permitted under Chapter 4 of the Charter. Furthermore, with the financial support of several member states, my office is developing a digital handbook to compile past practices, data, and recommendations clarifying the powers of the General Assembly in respect of international peace and security. This handbook aims not only to provide clarity, but to also invigorate the General Assembly's role on matters of peace and security, ensuring that the Assembly comprehends the full extent of the powers assigned to it under the Charter. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, as we engage in discussions today, let us bear in mind the pressing urgency for collective action and international cooperation. The challenges we face are not insurmountable, but they require us to harness the collective strength and authority of the United Nations, with all principal organs working in unison. In a world where geopolitical tensions are on the rise and conflicts erupting everywhere without any signs of abatement, the very essence of our multilateral system as the foundation of international cooperation is under real threat. This grave situation demands that we prioritize the strengthening of the level of complementarity between the General Assembly and the Security Council. It is a call to action that we must all heed, for the stakes are too high to ignore. Let this workshop therefore serve as a springboard for renewed commitment and innovative approaches to fulfilling our core mandate for international peace and security. I welcome your dedication to our common cause, and I wish you fruitful discussions. I thank you.
Thank you, Thank you very much, Mr. President.